today we're talking about hybrid cloud and a lot of what we're doing in terms of the intelligent edge and intelligent cloud. And these are some of the things that Scotty and Tim, you might remember. But if you look at this, this is moving very, very fast. This is data that might surprise you, might not. You might be all be aware of this, but 1 million per hour new devices getting connected. You can imagine how much data that is. That's billions of connections for customers, and how much data, obviously how many servers you're going to need to manage that data. But it's happening really, really fast. Another just fun fact, S&P 500, the average company has been around for 12 years today. And back in 1960, anybody guess what that is? It was actually 60 years. And so you can see how quickly things are working. And by 2027, 75% of the S&P 500, the names are going to have changed. So that's how quickly our businesses and our companies are moving. At the end of it, you can see this is what we're talking about today in terms of hybrid cloud. 81% of businesses are operating in that. And that's a fact. By 2021, it's actually happening today. We went and respun this, and you can see about 80% of the people are actually using hybrid cloud today. And if you look at what Microsoft's been doing, you saw some of this, if you saw Satya or Jason Sanders, some of the keynotes this morning, kind of our journey in terms of what we've been on. And obviously started off with the cloud, say about 10 years ago. IoT, we've really been focused on this for the last 5 years. We've all had mobile devices, and we've been doing IoT for a long time in terms of that thing and connecting that to the cloud. So it's not necessarily new, but the focus is new, and this is a big focus for Microsoft. And you're hearing a lot about edge in terms of what we're doing from a software as well as a hardware perspective. So the edge is becoming very, very important. This is a lot of our relationship and the work that we do, especially in the IoT space with HPE, because they're Edgeline server line. AI, you're hearing a lot about that, and that's starting to come more and more mainstream. And of course, digital twins, where we're basically building a model of that physical asset in the cloud, and so we can monitor that, manipulate that, and predict things based upon that. But that's a lot of our journey, what we're on. And you can see we're kind of in the middle of that in terms of moving forward, but you can see there's a lot more to do in terms of our the innovations that we're developing. And if you look at it too, we really focus, and you've seen a lot of that here today, in certain industries. Of course, you've got manufacturing, energy, retail, but you saw the farm beats, I think, this morning, or the garden tractor over there in terms of what we're doing. But there's a lot of different industry focuses that we're focused on. And in working with Hewlett-Packard, because they're such a broad, worldwide, global company, we can focus on each of these in different parts of the world. And just to drill down a little bit more, this is manufacturing, one of the largest verticals if you look at it. And first off, $267 billion just spent on IoT. And that's coming next year. And that's actually really happening. If you look at the companies that are adopting IoT, that $100 million in additional income, that's based on about a $3.5 billion company. And if you look at that, down below you can see that's about 8% more in terms of just additional income in terms of people investing in IoT that they're making. These are some of McKinsey's studies that we've done. But the last one I think is probably the best one for us in terms of this particular topic today. 94% of businesses are looking at the next 2 years are actually adopting and doing IoT. So it's definitely a space, definitely something that Microsoft is heavily invested in, as well as HPE. And in terms of those investments, one of the things that we've seen is that IoT can be really difficult. It can be highly complex. The projects can take a long time to do the project, as well as the investments needed to do those projects. And oftentimes, we don't quite get it right. We have to do POC. Sometimes we have to iterate on that to make sure that we get the solution right and we're getting the right proof of concept and can actually go into pilot phase. As well as just the whole solution space. If companies go from selling hardware or selling software to actually a solution, that's different. I know it's taken Microsoft a while to get there, and now we feel like we're much better at the solutions, but a lot of other companies, really, you're looking at a different business model, a different approach to businesses, and that can be challenging to get through. Of course, customer challenges really parallel those in terms of types of things that they're doing in adopting this technology. And one of the things that we did 1.5 years ago, Microsoft said, look, we want to help. We want to definitely be a provider, a platform provider in this industry. We're going to invest $5 billion in this over the next 4 years. So that was 18 months ago. We put a little bit, probably $1.5 billion into that already. And you can see this is really what our focus is. First off, it's innovation just on the platform itself. And that's Azure IoT. You're seeing a lot of that today in terms of the intelligent edge space over there and some of the announcements today. But 100 new services and features just in the past 18 months. So we're basically developing rapidly on that. The other one here, which is the customer partner transformation. This is where we're really developing an IoT solution, a repeatable solution. one that not only we can actually go and resell, but our partners can resell it. So we put the time and effort in terms of that recurring engineering, and we go in and actually deploy that and sell that to other people. But we spent a lot of time in that. That's a lot of what my job is here with Hewlett-Packard in terms of finding those repeatable solutions that we can go spec that out and then sell to other people. And the bottom line is that ecosystem. We've done a lot of work on the ecosystem. You can see 10,000 partners. You're seeing that here in this show with a lot of the partners in terms of that broader Microsoft ecosystem. This is an area that we invested a lot just in IoT. And one of the things we didn't realize, but when we actually had McKinsey come in and kind of take a look at our business, gave us some guidance, they said, that's one of the biggest assets you have. It's just the number of partners that actually have been working developing on your platform. So those are the main focus areas that we've been working on and will continue to for the next several years. And if you look at it just from a technology standpoint, Jason Zander really walked through a lot of this today, but this is Azure IoT. And if you look at Microsoft, you can actually start at the bottom. That's operating system. And we have OSs for basically microcontrollers or CPUs as well. And you can actually start at the OS level, but go all the way up and look at infrastructure services, platform services, and even we have some SaaS offerings that you were hearing about today in terms of IoT Central, in terms of some of the dynamics for field service. But if you look at that, we're providing all of that and really working on that whole area to make sure that you have a consistent stack. And you also heard about Azure Security Center, which has been basically in Azure for a long time. It's now been adopted to IoT as well, so we can make sure that that's secured across the stack, all the way from the base silicon on up to the cloud. So that's a lot of the focus and a broader perspective in terms of the portfolio that we have. And one of the things that we do in terms of working with partners, because of that transition in terms of the amount of time it takes, this is really the types of programs that we work on different partners. You can kind of go from left to right on that, where you start with the ideation, you start with the strategy, the concepts, and we actually have programs and investments that we put into there, whether it's boot camps, whether it's insider labs, whether it's architectural design sessions. But we'll go in and we'll actually ideate. And then we'll get to the POC phase, where we actually do a proof of concept. Let's try it. Maybe we try it again, we didn't quite right. And then get to a pilot, and then of course deployment. And the interesting thing about this is we're actually investing in programs not only to help people develop on the platforms, but even help them go out and sell those and co-sell those. And so we'll do GTM programs, we'll go work with sales channels, and one of the things at Microsoft is that we develop a solution with HPE. We can take that in a catalog, and the broader 20,000 Microsoft field sellers can actually take a look at that and actually help us go co-sell that. And when they sell that and we close that deal, they'll get credit as well for that Azure consumption based on that. So they're motivated to go sell our partner solutions, which is a great model for us and also for our partners. You can see that's kind of the process. And if you look at just HPE, over the past year, year and a half, we actually have several solutions that we've come out with, where we've taken all the way across there. Up to the top right, that's a smart city tourism one. The Edgeline IoT Quick Connect, that's really focused a lot on manufacturing, which is one of the largest markets there. Point Next, that's really on smart buildings. And then there's some video analytics that we're working on as well in terms of ideating right now. But just to drill down a little bit more on that, the smart city tourism one, Mela is the ISV that we worked with on that. And they worked on that, and really what we really focused on is a solution for rural cities, rural towns. And if you look at those, only 1 in 50 of those storefronts when you drive by a small town are typically connected to the internet. So the whole idea is actually get those connected, so those little chocolates or candies or things that you love, when you go out there, you can actually reorder those and get those for holiday or something like that. We also actually connected them up and gave them Wi-Fi access. They didn't have that. And then even had some parking solutions and also a mobile app where actually you can take that and go out and actually put together a schedule where you can get your tours or even book restaurants and things like that in a small town. But this is actually deployed. We deployed this about a year ago in Grays Harbor, and we have many, many more solutions that we're working on. And this was built on the HP Edgeline gateway on that as a starter, and then we built around that with the Aruba and some Bosch cameras there as well. Another solution that we worked on, and this one really just in the past 6 to 9 months, the Edgeline IoT Quick Connect. And this really uses an EL300, which was announced, I think it was almost about a year ago in terms of the device. And the EL300, if you look at that, that is a base device, and what HP's done is, if you look at that, it's right behind me here, they've modularized that. So you can actually use that as the base computer, And you can bring different modules depending on what kind of manufacturing and manufacturing protocols that you have. And of course, as you saw on the previous slide there, the real thing is the machine tools that actually haven't been and need maintenance and have been out there for typically 9 years. Factories, the average life is about 25 years. So you can see there's an awful lot of IoT that really is needed out in that industry. And what we're hearing, and I just came out of a meeting a little bit earlier today, where manufacturers, this is actually happening. The past year or two, we've really been doing POCs, trying things out, but then I was saying, no, I want to deploy that to my 10 factories. I want to deploy that to my 20 factories. So we're seeing, and you remember back to that 91% adoption, it's really starting to happen today, and starting to happen now. And I think that one of the things that HPE is really focused on, if you can think of a manufacturing machine tool environment, you have real-time feedback, real-time analysis, real-time data. Due to the latency, you can't always send that to the cloud. And so oftentimes you want to process that right there locally, and that's where the edge line, the converged edge servers and solutions really come into play, and they fit really nicely in that. And here's an example of that. And actually this device with the OT link, it's actually orderable today on the website, and you can get that configured. We've also hooked that up and done some initial analysis and hooking it into some of the Azure solutions as well. Another one is that we worked on is intelligent workplace and facilities. And this is, again, if you look at it, and this is a workplace in terms of some of the issues and things like that, you can see that employees, if they're actually connected, and they're much more productive and empowered at work. You can see you can actually save a lot in terms of the amount of the space just by knowing the space and utilizing that space even better. And then the system also hooks up to energy, where you can save a lot of money based upon whether or not you're applying air conditioning or heating to that particular room that may or may not be used. Again, as you see right in the middle, this is using the EL300. And basically it's using their base device, and what you're doing is you're hooking back to some of the back-end building systems and building management systems, as well as hooking into this one's the Aruba network in terms of the Wi-Fi network in terms of where people are. And so you can look at, is that conference room being used? So if it's being used, great, keep the heating and air conditioning on. If not, maybe you can turn that off. Maybe it's not being used for a whole day because people are out. So you can actually manage your buildings and even your space a lot more with this system from Point Next. And one of the last ones that we've been working on is really video analytics. And this one's really more on the incubation stage. HPE's done a lot with video analytics. Microsoft's done a lot with video analytics. And really, I think this kind of brings it all together. Because you see not only the sensors, typically the cameras, whatever cameras you're bringing into that, but now you're looking at the converged edge systems, and you can kind of see the EL lineup right there, whether it starts with the 300, 1,000, 4,000, or 8,000 that they announced in the past 6 months. And you can configure it based on what kind of compute you actually need to go and do the edge modules and the storage, as well as you see in there's an FPGA card that we've worked on. And we've actually done machine learning in the cloud, program that FPGA card, and you can put that in an EL 1,000, 4,000, or 8,000, run that model on the edge, so you're actually doing real-time AI right there. This comes into play in terms of retail stores. They're looking at stock out, inventory stock out. It's actually an $8 billion problem. And for some retailers where they go in and you look at the store shelf and it's not there. Well, if you can actually use the cameras that are actually in those stores already and be looking at those shelves and do the models and what type of device, what type of packaging that is and what that is, you can actually then go back and communicate with your supply chain to make sure that doesn't happen. And that also, it's a good example of you have a lot of PII information. Those cameras in the stores, you get not only looking at shelves, but people are walking by and you're getting some facial information there. Well, they don't want to send that to the cloud. The retailers don't want to do that, so you process that locally and you can actually filter all that out. But you don't have to worry about sending anything to the cloud, and so they don't have any regulation issues or anything like that. So it's a real key thing, I think, in terms of what Microsoft's doing on the cloud, as well as what HPE is doing here with their Edgeline lineup in terms of these modular systems. So that really concludes just a kind of discussion in terms of the partnership. Microsoft, if you look at it, as you can see here, doing a lot of investment in IoT, basically at the edge to cloud. A lot of what my job is, and people like me in terms of working with partners. But also, if you look at HPE in terms of their edge line, the converged edge servers, and we've been working with them on that for a few years, and it's a great fit for what we're seeing in terms of the edge compute. not only edge compute, but making sure that we connect that up to Azure and make it really truly a hybrid type model. And I think some of these facts and figures, I think that Scotty and Tim already talked about in terms of the 30-year life, the relationship there. But I think you can see a comprehensive portfolio from an HPE hardware perspective in terms of the middleware as well as needed, and then Microsoft on the cloud perspective. It's been a great partnership, and we've been able to enable a lot of ISVs and other partners in terms of building out solutions that are then repeatable, and then we can then go co-sell together.